A very good evening and welcome to tonight's edition of Weekend Primetime News, coming to you live from our Newsfirst studios in Colombo. I'm Arundhati Naik. Let's start off with a look at the stories making headlines this evening.
Heavy rains persist over the next few days. Ratnapura, Kalutara and Mathura battered by floods. Death rises to 119. Search and rescue continues. President instructs authorities to provide relief, casting aside the circulars. Prime Minister appoints ministerial committee to streamline the relief process. Public donations flow into the Sirisa Shakti TV1 Sahana Yatra to provide relief to the affected people.
Newsfirst Rameshwar Galbandara joins us from the newsroom with the latest update with regard to the adverse weather that is affecting the country. Ramesh?
Good evening, Arundhati, and good evening to all our viewers. Well, the death toll due to the adverse weather conditions that have affected the island has surpassed 100. The Disaster Management Center says that another 100 people are reported missing and more than 100,000 people have been affected by these adverse weather conditions that have been affecting the island because of the southwest monsoon conditions that are approaching the island, causing torrential rains and even landslides and flooding in many areas of the country. The Mathura district continues to suffer the worst due to the Nilbala River breaking its banks. So what we did was we took to the air in order to find out or get a better vantage point of the Mathura district and how this weather condition has affected the Mathura district. Let's take a look at what we saw. The visuals that you are seeing right now are visuals of the Nilbala River and the sea. This is the estuary of the Nilbala River. As you can see, a clear difference in the colors of the two waters as the Nilbala River makes it out its way into the sea. Visuals are of course coming to Newsfirst courtesy of the Sri Lanka Air Force. What you are witnessing right now is one of the substations of the Ceylon Electricity Board that was inundated. This caused massive power disruptions in the Mathura district as well, adding injury to the people of this country who have been battered by floods and torrential rains. As you can see, this is the entrance to the expressway in Mathura. A number of the entrances along the southern expressway have been inundated, as we have been reporting to you over the course of the day today. This is one such location. The visuals that you are seeing right now are the visuals that you saw just a short while ago are from the construction sites extending the expressway into Hambantota from Mathura. These construction sites have also been inundated due to the extreme weather conditions. Aerial footage coming into Newsfirst, courtesy of the Sri Lanka Air Force. As you can see, the Sri Lanka Air Force reaching the Nellore area. These visuals are from the Sri Lanka Air Force distributing aid and reaching the Nellore area.
මුදාවට ලබා දුන්නේ ආධාර ඒ විපතටපත් පීඩාවටපත් පීඩ පුද්ගලයන් සඳහා ලබා දෙන ආකාරය
ගුවන් හමුදා මේ වෙනකොට හෙලිකොප්ටර් යාන 8ක් යොදවලා තියෙනවා. MI-17 ගුවන් යාන 3කුත්, Bell 412 ගුවන් යාන 2කුත්, Bell 212 ගුවන් යාන 3කුත් සහ බීච්ක්‍රාෆ්ට් කියන ගුවන් යාන යොදවලා තියෙන සම්පූර්ණ නිරීක්ෂණ කටයුතු සඳහා ගුවන් හමුදා විශේෂ කාර්ය පටයන් ඒ වගේම යුද හමුදාවේ කමාන්ඩෝ පටයන් සහ අනිත් හමුදා සාමාජිකයන් ඒ අවශ්‍ය කරන තැන් වලට යොමු කරන්නත් නාවික හමුදාවේ බෝට්ටු මොන හරි අවශ්‍යතාවයක් තියෙනවා පොඩි බෝට්ටු යවන්න ඕන නම් ඒවත් අපිට හරියට නිරීක්ෂණය කරලා දැනගන්න පුළුවන් කොයිගේ පළාත් වලට අපි මේවා ගිහලා දාන්න ඕනේ කියලා. ඒකට තමයි අපිට හරියටම පුළුවන්කම ලැබෙන්නේ මේ ව්‍යසනයෙන් අසරණ බාහිර තත්ත්වවල ඉන්න මේ මහ ජනතාවට උදව් කරන්න පුළුවන් වෙන්නේ.
Well, we have more exclusive footage, exclusive aerial footage surveying the damage that was caused due to flooding in a number of areas in the country. As you can see, the extent of flooding due to the rivers breaking its banks, these are once again exclusive footage coming into Newsfirst. As you can see, the torrential downpour that the country and a number of areas in the country have been experiencing over the past few days has inundated many areas, as you saw earlier as well. The Mathura, Ratnapura as well as the Kaltura districts have been the main areas and main districts that have been battered by this torrential rain brought on by the southwest monsoon conditions. Now, as we said earlier, a number of landslide warnings have been issued for several districts for the next 24 hours due to the inclement weather.
Here's a look at the rainfall recorded during the 24 hours ending at 8:30 this morning. We will experience heavy rainfall starting from the 29th and it will go on until the 31st. It is evident that the atmosphere in the Bay of Bengal is turbulent. There is depression in the Bay of Bengal. Therefore, wind speeds across the country would be between 40 to 50 kilometers per hour. These winds will have an impact on the western slopes of the central hills. In addition, the over, eastern and northwestern provinces will experience thunder showers during the evening hours of the day. We believe that next week's heavy downpour will have a serious impact in the southwest areas of the country, mainly in the Galle, Nellore, Tawalama, Denyaya and surrounding areas.
A severe flood situation is reported on the banks of the Nilvala, Gin, Balave, Kalani and other surrounding rivers. The Nilvala river has broken its banks in several areas. Therefore, those areas are at risk. Warnings have been issued to the locals to evacuate. Floodwaters in Avisavalla and Hanvalla as a result of the overflowing of the Kalani river have started to recede. However, the water gauge in Nagalagam Street still indicated the water level at 6 feet. Therefore, there may be a rise in water levels. As the water levels of the Gin River have receded, there is no threat of further floods in those areas. There is a reduction in floodwaters in the Ratnapura district. However, there is a rise in water levels in the Kalutara district. If a lesser rainfall is recorded in the next 24 hours, there will be a reduction in water levels. However, the Met Department has forecast more rains in the coming days. The Department of Irrigation requests those who have already evacuated not to go back to your homes until the rains are over. Water levels in the rivers have reached spill level and they may break their banks if there is a heavy downpour. Only the reservoir in Veerakatiya in the Hambantota district has reached spill level. Other reservoirs have recorded moderate levels.
Landslide warnings have been issued to the Alapatha, Palmadulla, Kuruvita, Ahalegoda, Kiriyalla, Imbulpe, Ayagama, Kahavatta, Kalawana, Kolonna and Nivitigala divisional secretariats in the Ratnapura district. Landslide warnings have also been issued to the Bulat Singhala, Agalavatta, Walalavita and Badrueli areas in the Kalutara district. Bulat Kahupitiya, Daraniagala, Yati Antoda and Dehiovita areas in the K Gaul district have been classified as at-risk areas. The at-risk areas of the Gaul districts are Babdigama, Yakkalamulla, Nelluwa, Tavalama, Niyagama and Nagoda areas. The Kotapola, Pasgoda, Pitabaddara and Mulatiyana areas in the Mathura district have been classified as at-risk areas. The Walasmula and Katuwanat areas in the Hambantota district as well as the Ganga Ihala Korale in the Kandy district have also been classified as at-risk areas. Even if we have many airplanes, the Navy, the police or even army, there are places that are not easy to access. The general public must support the efforts. Waters from the hills are now flowing downstream. Those living 2 or 3 kilometers either side of the banks must evacuate. If not, when the water level rises, the people will have to get onto their roofs. The general public must pay attention towards this. The government requests those living on the banks of rivers to evacuate, even if there are floods or not, because there is water flowing downstream.
Now we mentioned that there are landslide warnings that are in place. Let's see what the Met Department has to say about the rainfall over the next couple of days. The Met Department website says that although rainy conditions have reduced temporarily, showery conditions is likely to enhance over the southwestern part of the island from the 29th of May. So expect more rains as the days progress. Within 2 days' time, there will be more rain. Let's take a look at how it will look like on the satellite images. As you can see, this is the forecast for noon Monday. You can see a weather system moving in from the southwestern direction. That is generally the southwest monsoon activation. As you can see, thunder showers on Sunday and Monday as well. Let's head into Tuesday as well. And you can see the system that is approaching from the southwestern direction intensifying as we head in to Wednesday, and you can see the center of this system is going to occupy this area. This is the area which has been most affected, the Ratnapura, Colombo and parts of the southern district as well. So expect heavy rains over the next couple of days. Now, as we mentioned earlier, the districts of Ratnapura, Kalutara, K Gaul, Mathura, Gaul, Hambantota and Gampaha have been severely affected by flooding.
The bodies of 3 more victims were recovered today from the Aramakanda landslide in Ratnapura. A total of 6 bodies have been recovered so far, while rescue operations are still underway in search of missing persons. Limbs of one of the 3 victims who went missing in the Vopatha landslide in Ahalegoda were found this morning.
Deaths were reported from Bulugahapiti and Kiriporua areas as houses collapsed. Palagama, Yakudagoda, Nakandala, Gatahatta, Valavita, Divurumpitiya and several other areas were also affected by floods.
10 houses were destroyed in the Nivitigala Divisional Secretariat when the Kiribadkala Mount gave way. The bodies of 11 people who were killed in the landslide have been placed at the Kahavatta Base Hospital. Rescue operations are being carried out by over 250 personnel of the Police Special Task Force and Sri Lanka Army. Floods and landslides in the Kaluthuru district claimed 38 lives, while 72 people are unaccounted for. 8 people were killed in a landslide in the Kobavake area in Bulatsingala. 3 people survived the landslide. Rescue operations are underway in the Bellapete area in Horana.
It was initially reported that the areas upstream of the Kaluganga were flooded. Today, areas such as Millaniya, Bandaragama, Maduravala and Ingiriya, which are further downstream, were flooded. Over 77,000 people of 20,936 families are reported to have been affected by the weather.
Mathura District Secretary Pradeep Ratnayaka says 11 people have died and 17 are missing in floods and landslides in the district.
All 16 divisions in the district face disaster situations. We have received reports that 54,461 people were affected, out of which 14,912 people are at the 24 displacement camps which have been set up across the district. The Sri Lanka Navy has dispatched boats to rescue those stranded. Air rescue operations are also being carried out.
8 divisional secretariat areas of the Hambantota district are affected by floods.
We are focusing on rescuing and providing food and security to those affected. All political and religious leaders as well as youth and elderly organizations have come together as one in these efforts.
2 deaths have been reported from the Gampaha district. The Colombo District Disaster Management Centre said over 11,000 people are affected from the Kulunnawa, Paduka, Kaduwela, Sitawaka and Humagaman divisional secretariat areas.
I am currently standing at the new Kandy Road in Kaduwela. Now this was a road that was a fully functioning road a few days ago, but due to the inclement weather, as you can see, the water level is actually about 1 or 2 feet high. And when we spoke to the area residents, what they told us was that the water level behind me exceeds at some points even 9 feet and above. So when we arrived here a few minutes ago, it wasn't raining and we were able to walk quite comfortably, but since the past few minutes it has been raining really heavily, and what we can see is with the incessant rain, the water level seems to be rising really drastically.
Around 1,200 personnel of the Sri Lanka Army are carrying out rescue and search operations. Over 2,000 people were extracted in rescue operations undertaken by the Sri Lanka Navy today.
From the streets of Kaduwela, let's now go to Ratnapura, where Krishan Devasagayam of Newsfirst is standing by with an update from the ground.
The flood waters here in the Ratnapura town are receding, but from the reports that are coming in, the flood waters that inundated this particular area are now moving towards the outskirts of the Ratnapura town and are inundating villages. The very location that I am standing on had at least 4 to 5 feet of water last night, but with God's graces, that water has now completely receded. Villages such as Kalavana and several other villages in those areas are yet inaccessible, according to reports coming in from the tri forces, and due to various landslides and earth slips that have taken place in that area, we are hearing that relief goods cannot be taken to those particular areas and that a number of people are yet stranded in the villages of Kalavana. However, it must be mentioned that the town of Ratnapura is still in darkness for another consecutive night. The electricity supply has been cut off due to the flood waters and the adverse weather conditions, and this town is in complete darkness. This is in addition, of course, to the lack of food and the drinking water that exists here in the Ratnapura town.
Thank you, Krishan, for that comprehensive update. We will be crossing over to Krishan in the coming days as well for more updates from the Ratnapura area. Now, we took a look at how flooding and landslides affected the worst hit districts of Ratnapura, Kaltara and Kegol. Let's now take a look at how floods affected other areas around the island.
The Valigama, Jamburugoda and Maddegama areas in Mathura were flooded. Relief was provided to those affected with the efforts of locals in the area.
The heavy rain since the day before yesterday has caused a power outage in the area. Locals say the lack of aid from government agencies is a massive shortcoming. Around 110 people are stranded in this area.
The Panigala and Atwalthota areas from the Baduralia town were inundated today as well. As a result, rescue teams are stranded in the Baduralia town, unable to reach the landslide hit area in the Atwalthota area. Water levels in the Poddala, Balanggoda and Wanduroba areas in Galle increased today. Our correspondent said relief efforts were hampered as a result. The Virakatia road in Thangol was flooded as a result of the Kirama Oya overflowing. Relief was provided today to 110 families displaced in the Virakatia Yaddasmulla area. The Valasmulla Warapitia road was cleaned up this morning by area residents. Those displaced in the Valivitia and Baddegama Divisional Secretariat areas are receiving shelter at 4 displacement camps. The Mathara Godagama entrance point to the expressway was inundated this morning. As a result, the road leading to Akarasa upon exiting the expressway was completely blocked.
For an international perspective on the weather situation that is currently affecting Sri Lanka, Newsfirst spoke to Stephen Keats of the Global Guidance Unit of the Met Office in London with regards to recent weather that our region is facing.
Ratnapura, which I believe is in Sabah Gamua province, apologies to pronunciations out there, usually receives around about 450 millimetres of rain in the month of May. But to put it in context, the last 3 days here we've received 534 millimetres of rain, so a lot of rainfall in a short period of time, which has obviously led to the flooding we've seen in the news at the moment. So I think there's potential for further enhanced rainfall into the start of next week. Now this is all tied in with potential for a tropical cyclone or tropical storm to develop in the Bay of Bengal, and along that the western or southwestern flank of this system will increase the westerly wind across Sri Lanka, potentially enhancing the rainfall again through Monday and Tuesday. But beyond there, it looks as though the monsoon trough, which ultimately is responsible for the change of the weather this time of year, will drift further northwards into India. Meaning the rainfall, yes, there's still some rain expected as we move through to midweek and start of June, but rainfall amounts each day should be less than what we've seen over the last few days. So hopefully some good news on the horizon for those who have suffered with the flooding.
That was Stephen Keats of the UK Met Office. Now, before we hand things back to the main studio and Arundhati Mudanaika, I just want to draw your attention to 2 tweets that were issued last night and today. The first is by Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi. He's tweeted out, "We stand with our Sri Lankan brothers and sisters in their hour of need." There were 3 other tweets that were followed after this, and soon after this was sent at around 8:45 a.m. the first Indian ship carrying relief items to Sri Lanka arrived in Colombo. We have the details of this story coming up in just a short bit. The second tweet that I mentioned was issued by Ambassador Atul Keshap, the US ambassador here in Sri Lanka. He tweeted that assistance worth 15 million rupees will be provided by the American people through USAID for immediate relief efforts, and that is also aid coming in to the people that have been affected by this torrential weather. That's it from the Weather Center for now. Arundhati Mudanaika, it's back to you.
Thank you, Ramesh, for bringing us the latest developments. The President chaired an important disaster management meeting at the Kalutara District Secretariat this morning. Ministers, disaster management officials, members of the three armed forces were among those in attendance.
There are several decisions that we took on previous disaster situations with regard to deaths. We will summon the respective agencies on Monday and take a decision. We will give the maximum that can be provided as compensation for the deceased. The government also plans to build houses for the people who lost their homes or need rebuilding done. When it comes to housing, we will have a more effective and streamlined process with the assistance of the three armed forces, the Housing Development Authority and the respective government agencies. I have instructed the heads of the authorities to cast aside any issue that arises with regard to the regulations and circulars when it comes to providing relief to the people who have been affected. A ship has arrived in Colombo. Another will reach the port tomorrow. These vessels are reaching the country based on our request. The supplies include tents and other requirements that will be given to the people affected. We hope to commence the distribution of relief items tomorrow efficiently.
The Kurd ship of the Indian Navy carrying relief materials for those affected by floods arrived in the Colombo port this morning.
The Kurd ship was traditionally welcomed by the Sri Lanka Navy. A group of 120, including divers and Indian medical officers, also arrived in the island. They were welcomed by the Minister of Foreign Affairs Ravi Karunanayake and Indian High Commissioner to Sri Lanka Taranjit Singh Sandhu.
Indian High Commissioner to Sri Lanka Taranjit Singh Sandhu spoke to Newsfirst Joel Outskun in an exclusive interview on India's assistance to Sri Lanka in flood relief efforts.
First and foremost, our deepest condolences. My Prime Minister has tweeted his own personal deepest condolences for the people of Sri Lanka who are suffering with this tragedy. We hope and we pray to God that this is short-lived and it gets over soon. We received a request yesterday evening from your leadership for assistance with flood rescue and relief. Immediately it was relayed to my Prime Minister, who's travelling in Guwahati, and from there he directed the Indian Navy. Last night the Navy assembled their ship, and this morning we have the first Indian ship which has come with relief as well as personnel. These young Navy boys have been put together with your Navy personnel, and they are working together. Whatever requirements are needed in terms of boats, in terms of water, in terms of food, in terms of helicopters, in terms of compact teams where you have paramedic, you have diver, and you have other assistance, small food packets that will be assembled. We are going to stand shoulder to shoulder with our Sri Lankan brothers and sisters, and through this difficult time, that's what neighbors and relatives are always there.
Also, has any assistance been sought by the government officials requesting for the Indian military to assist us with these operations?
Our compact teams are ready. Whenever Sri Lankan government which is also assessing the situation as it develops, whenever they ask us, within 24 hours we will have those teams here, and they will merge with the Sri Lankan teams and operate in the south where there is this deadly menaces going on right now.
How many ships in total has the government of India decided that we will be sending this much of relief to Sri Lanka? Is there any particular number that you could give me out?
Look, we got the request last night, so one ship has already come. We have planned another ship for tomorrow, and we have the third one coming day after. Now, in case there is a requirement for more, we will certainly send more material, whether it has to be flown or it has to come by ship. Of course, as you know, that ship is able to carry much more. The basic principle and the bottom line is that, look, we are there with you. This is a difficult time, and during the difficult time we come in, we help you. Once our help is over, we go back. This has been done in the past and we will do it again. I think that's the most important message Sri Lankans who are our brothers and sisters need to get, that we are there with you through this difficult time. As soon as the difficult time is over, we go back, and I'm sure if in future we also have any difficult time, I'm sure we will get the same treatment by Sri.
As always, the Sirasa Shakti TV1 Sahanayatra organised to provide much needed relief to people affected by floods and landslides across the country, and we have received immense public support as donations continue to pour in. The Sahanayatra initiative was launched last night.
Crowds in their numbers made their way to the collection centre established at the Newsfirst head office located at Braybrook Place, Colombo 2.
ආපද අවස්ථාවකදීම ඉහළින්ම ඉන්නේ පළවෙනිම ඉන්නේ සිරස. අපි මම සිරස ගැන විශ්වාස මේක අවංකවම කරන සේවයක් කියලා ඒ නිසා තමයි දෙන්නේ.
ඔබ විශ්වාසයෙන් යුතුව ඔබ දෙන දේවල් ගෙනල්ලා දෙන්න. මොකද මේ දේවල් ඔවුන්ගේ අතටම ලැබෙන බව අපිට හොඳටම විශ්වාසයි.
මේ වගේ වෙලාවක අපේම ජනතාව තමයි මේ අසරණතාවයට පත් වෙලා තියෙන්නේ. ඉතින් ඒ අපේ යුතුයකමක් තමයි ඒගොල්ලන්ට උදව් කරන එක.
මේ වගේ දෙයක් කරන්න හිතුනේ පුතේ සිරස කවදත් අතහිත දෙන තැනක් මේ කෙනෙකුට කරදරයක් අවහිරයක් වෙච්ච වෙලාවට මේ සිරස වෙනුවෙන් අපිට ධාතු පෙන්නලා මේවා වෙලා හරි පින්දහන් අතේ වැඩ කළා. කවදාත් සිරස කළේ හොඳ වැඩමයි.
අපි සිරසෙන් තමයි මේක මුලින්ම දැනගත්ත ගම අපිට කරන්න පුළුවන් වෙච්ච උපරිම දේ අපි කළා. ඉදිරියටත් තව මොන හරි දෙයක් කරන්න තියෙනවා නම් අපි ඒක සිරස වෙනුවෙන් අපේ ජනතාව වෙනුවෙන් අපි කරනවා.
මම සතුටින් මේ වගේ වෙලාවක උදව් කරන්න ලැබිච්ච එක ගැන.
අපි මේ සප විඳිනවා. මේ මිනිස්සු දුක් විඳිනවා. ඉතින් අපිට ඔක්කොම ෂෙල්ටර්ස් ඔක්කොම තියෙන හින්දා මේ මිනිස්සුන්ට මේ කරන්න පුළුවන් නම් හරි ලොකු දෙයක් මේ වෙලාවේ.
ඇවිත් බලන්න ඇත්තට මෙතනට ආවම ලොකු හැඟීමක් ඇති වෙනවා.
Minister of Petroleum Resources Development Arjuna Ranatunga also made donations to the Sirasa Shakti TV1 Sahanayatra.
තාත්තගේ මරණය වෙලා අවුරුදු 9ක් වෙනවා. ඉතින්
It's been 9 years since my father's demise. We organised an event to distribute goods in memory of him. Thereafter, we decided it is important to give it to those who really need it. The Sirasa media always works for the betterment of the country. Even during the recent droughts, the Sirasa media came forward and did what should actually be done by the government. I am proud of that fact.
This evening, Deputy Minister Dr. Harshri Silva also made a donation to the Sahanayatra.
I am very happy to see people in large numbers coming here to make donations. My daughter insisted that we make a donation. She used her savings and I also contributed. You must be praised for the fact that you are about to carry truckloads of goods.
Donations also poured into the Stein Studio complex as well. Large numbers also visited the collection centre set up at the Depanamo Studio complex.
Newsfirst Zulfiq Farasan joins us from the premises of the head office of the Capital Maharaj organisation to tell us more about the relief efforts undertaken by the Sirasa Shakti TV1 Sahanayatra program.
This is just one of the collection centres set up for the Sirasa Shakti TV1 Sahanayatra, and you can see that things are flowing in, water bottles, biscuit packets, wheat flour, rice flour, packets of dal. Many items are coming in from the donations from the general public. Now all these donations are being packed, and it's a streamlined process where the packaging is taking place to ensure that everyone gets the requirements that are provided from the Sirasa Shakti TV1 Sahanayatra. Public donations are continuing to pour in, as you can see right behind me, and this collection centre will be open until midnight tonight, where you can come and place your donations. It's not too late, you have 3 hours more, so you can come and place your donations. Zulfiq Farzad for News First.
Also in local news, convening a media briefing today, Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe commented on the present disaster situation.
First, I must praise the government personnel, private sector and volunteers for the work that they did yesterday. This flood situation was unexpected. We had mobilized thereafter. On the previous day, I was given the rainfall that was reported. 500 millimeters of rain was reported in Kukuleganga. If I was informed when the levels reached 150 millimeters, the disasters in Kalutara could have been prevented. The main issue is the landslides. This is because of the deforestation that has taken place. We have faced this disaster and this situation will be short-lived. We will estimate the damages. We will not stop from there. We will uplift the economy of those areas while looking at the development of education and health. The ministers have been divided into certain tasks. We have not moved away from disaster yet. We must rise from the rubble.
When disaster strikes, it is the armed forces and the police that come to the forefront as first responders to help save civilians. They are the ones who bear the brunt of rescue and relief efforts. As a nation, we need to recognize their service. At a media briefing today, the security forces announced the relief measures taken so far to assist people affected by landslides and floods.
15 battalions of 2 divisions along with commandos and special forces soldiers totaling up to 1,500 troops have been deployed for rescue and relief operations in affected areas. We have faced difficulties in accessing Pahiyagoda and Pitabadara areas. However, with the help of armoured vehicles, the Navy and the Air Force, we were able to reach the Pitabadara and Pahiyangoda area this morning.
අද උදෑසන අපිට හැකි වුණා පිටබැද්දර සහ පාලියන්ගොඩ කියන ප්‍රදේශවලට ළඟා වීම සඳහා මේ වෙනකොට යාත්‍රා සහ කණ්ඩායම් 68.
Currently, we have deployed 68 teams with boats to reach adversely affected areas. Around 400 sailors have also been deployed to assist in rescue and relief operations. We have been able to rescue around 1,854 people so far.
මේ වන විට මුදවා ගැනීමට අපිට හැකියාව ලැබිලා තියෙනවා. ඊයේ දවස තුල වන් මෙහෙයුම් වලින් 25 දෙනෙක්.
During air rescue operations conducted yesterday, we were able to save the lives of 25 people. We pulled them out from places where they were trapped. For rescue operations that resumed this morning, we deployed 5 Mi-17 helicopters, 3 Bell 212s and a Bell 412 helicopter. We took a decision today to prepare and distribute cooked meals from one location. When meals are prepared at different locations, we cannot guarantee its hygiene. Ensuring the quality and hygiene of cooked meals are very important at this point. At a time like this, if these displaced people suffer from diarrhea, it will be very difficult to hospitalize them. Some of the hospitals are also inundated.
The airman who was injured in a rescue operation succumbed to his injuries. The airman was injured during an operation launched to rescue a group of women who were trapped in a dormitory of the Kosmulla Duliala tea factory. The deceased airman was identified as YMS Yaparatna, a 38-year-old father of one from Kotugoda, Menuwangoda. The incident took place after an earth embankment collapsed on the tea factory. The airman had managed to airlift 2 women to the helicopter but had fallen 30 feet when rappelling to rescue the others. He was rescued by another airman and was rushed to the Kharapitiya Teaching Hospital. The Mahanayaka of the Askeri chapter of the CM sect, the Most Venerable Varakaguda Sri Jnana Ratana Thera, made an appeal to the public today.
I request everyone to show compassion towards all the people who have been affected at this time. If the devotees have raised funds for programs aimed at Poson Poya Day, I request them to donate a portion of these funds on behalf of the needs of the people who have been affected.
The subject of vehicles used by ministers came into the fore once again when Minister S.P. Dissanayake commented on the subject following a meeting with the chief prelate of the Askeri chapter this morning.
All the vehicles imported by ministers are not for the use of ministers. There must be thousands of vehicles under my ministry. They belong to various officials of the ministry, such as secretaries, additional secretaries, directors and director generals. Then there are vehicles in our pool. Therefore, it is wrong to say that all these vehicles are for the use of ministers.
Apart from a vehicle permit, a cabinet minister, deputy ministers and a state minister is provided with 3 vehicles by the government. Additionally, vehicles are also provided to the minister's private secretary, media secretary, 2 coordinating secretaries and public relations officer. However, 2.9 billion rupees was approved in Parliament last year under supplementary estimates for the purchase of ministerial vehicles. Meanwhile, 3.78 million rupees was requested in a supplementary estimate for the renovation of Minister S.P. Disanayake's And in sports news, Australia completed a 2-wicket win over Sri Lanka in their warm-up game before the ICC Champions Trophy 2017. The match was played at the Kennington Oval in London. Sri Lanka, who were invited to bat first, posted 318 runs on the board for the loss of 7 wickets in their 50 overs. Skipper Angelo Matthews top-scored with 95 runs. Chasing a target of 319 runs, Australia rode on Aaron Finch's century and an unbeaten 85 from Travis Head to seal a thrilling victory. That's a look at Weekend Primetime News for tonight. Thank you very much for joining us. Good night.